It is nearly quarter past the hour now here in the Russian capital. Libya's revolutionary forces have reportedly entered Bani Walid. It's one of the last towns still loyal to the ousted leader Muammar Gaddafi, but resistance there is fierce. It's as fighting also continues in the colonel's hometown of Sirte, seen as the last obstacle for the new authorities to declare the country's full liberation and schedule elections. For more on what's happening on the ground, let's now cross live to Tripoli and speak to Dibeh Fakhr, the spokesperson for the International Committee of the Red Cross. Thank you for coming on the programme today. So you've just come back from Sirte. What is the situation in that besieged town from a humanitarian point of view?
Well, the International Committee of the Red Cross is extremely concerned about the situation of the civilians who might still be caught in the besieged part of Sirte. As you know, there is still a part of Sirte that is under heavy fighting for the moment. We don't know exactly if there are still civilians present in that area and how many in case they are still in, but we're extremely concerned about their conditions inside the city if they are inside. Now, on the other side, of course, the hospital, Ibn Sina Hospital, when we were there for the few times, the situation was very difficult at the beginning, and the hospital was working under extremely difficult conditions. We had to evacuate several patients who needed further medical care in hospitals in Tripoli. We evacuated so far 25 war-wounded patients, and the plan is to evacuate further cases that need to be treated because the hospital was not able. Now the situation is changing inside the hospital of Ibn Sina. There is a lot of improvement done. Efforts are being also given by doctors and volunteers who went to the hospital to try to cope with the conditions.
Okay, so as you say, conditions in the hospital over the past week certainly have improved. You've got more supplies now and equipment to deal with casualties. But as you did mention, though, the violence continues on. The interim government wants to take control of Sirte at any cost in order to declare the country fully liberated. With all the ongoing violence, do you think the lives of those civilians still in Sirte are actually being at all taken into account?
Well, again, I mean, the civilians are the main concern for the ICRC. The conduct of hostilities is something we surely discuss with the authorities in a confidential dialogue. However, the main concern for us now is to know if there are still civilians present inside the besieged part of Sirte and look into the deterioration of the humanitarian situation for these civilians inside the city.
Now, from what you've seen on location there in Sirte, and I understand you're now in Tripoli, but how strong is the resistance of the Gaddafi loyalists in Sirte?
Well, for the ICRC, we do not interfere and we do not comment on these kinds of issues, on the political aspect, the military aspect, how it is going. Again, the conduct of hostilities is something we discuss surely because this is part of the international humanitarian law. We discuss it with the authorities in charge. However, on the ground now, we are calling upon all the parties to the conflict to take all feasible measures to spare the civilians. If the civilians are still inside, we should not forget that thousands of people left already the city of Sirte. And when I was there last week, we were seeing hundreds of people still leaving on daily basis, going either on the eastern or on the western side of the city. So thousands already left. We don't know if civilians are still inside, but in case they are still inside, we call again upon all the parties fighting in the remaining besieged part of Sirte to spare the civilians. And then, of course, we will continue monitoring the situation that is a source of concern for the ICRC today.
And, at RT here, we understand that you have a tough job ahead of you, dealing with the casualties, dealing with the civilians who are being caught up in this ongoing conflict. If we can just turn our attention quickly to Tripoli, where you are now. I'm running rather low on time here, though. We saw signs of resistance from Gaddafi supporters last week. Any chance you think that could be repeated?
Well, we cannot predict and we cannot know what's going to happen. I mean, for the moment, I'm in Tripoli. The situation is stable. But again, I mean, the ICRC looks into the humanitarian situation. And now we're focusing on Sirte and on Bani Walid, where we are trying also to have access to assess the situation of the hospital and of the wounded who might need also further care. So we're looking into this. But for the moment, the situation in Tripoli is calm, the way I see it.
All right, Dibeh Fakhr for the International Red Cross live in Tripoli. Thank you very much.
Thank you.